cast. It's actually pretty awesome. Alright, let's see what we got going here with this event. Yeah, new USBs, new BSB. Filler event, yeah, that's what I'm feeling. New Legend Materia. So I guess we're going to take a look at the new Legend Materia that belong to Riku, Lulu, and Oron. So, Lulu, there are no OSBs on this banner. These banners. 4 USBs. 2 on each banner. So we got black, 10%, sure, it's fine. 35% chance to dual cast ice is good. Really good. I mean, considering that Lulu's not a really good character until she gets her USB, which appears on the first banner. KK Girl, thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate it. Well, that's not totally true, Solus. I think with Lulu's USB, she's actually pretty decent. But we'll get to that once I get to the banners. This is not bad. LMR, magic plus 1% for each hit dealt with black attacks that deal ice damage up to 20%. That's awful. So that appears on the first banner, and that's going to be a big get the hell away from me. Next up, we have Riku. Celerity abilities deal 15% more damage. That's okay. I just don't really consider Riku to be a huge damage dealer. And when you do deal damage with Riku, it's normally going to be with machinist abilities. So this would be for Dervish. Is Dervish any good for Riku? I guess. Because, alright. Say how would we use Riku? It would be with her USB. Her BSB is machinist damage, yeah. But we don't care about that because her abilities aren't... I'll get to that when we get to the banner. So how would we use Riku would be with her USB. And say we bring her as a buffer, and we need to do something in between casts of her buff. You start out with Mako Might or Dr. Mars teachings, and you use the USB at the start of the battle. And then what do you do from there? You probably devote one slot to casting... No, she gives Proteka and Shelga with the USB, so that's probably not a smart idea at all. What do we do from there? We deal damage with her, right? We deal damage. Or we dance. But let's say we're going to use her in a Magicite dungeon. So we're going to deal damage. We exploit weakness, which she can do with machinists. Yeah. Thief's Revenge is good, but... yeah, I mean, obviously she doesn't get any boosts to Thief. It's Celerity Machinist. Which is Tempest Snipe, Blazing Snipe, or whatever, and the Ice Snipe. So she's got 3 elements available to her through that. Also has Sharpshooter, which is water, adds water to the mix, because the other 2 are fire and ice, which is much better done with machinists. So I guess what Celerity gives her is just an ability... I mean, she has 4 elements taken care of there. So, I don't know. But, I mean, it's a Legend Materia 1. I would not... I didn't... You saw how fast I just passed over this. I just don't care about LM1s that much. But I guess I was trying to see if it was actually just better than your normal weirdo LM1. But the thing about like something like Lulu's LM1, why it was easy to brush over, was that it affects everything that Lulu does. All damage she's going to do is BLK type. Even witch abilities are BLK type. So that applied to everything. This is going to not apply to much of anything that Riku does. So this is a bad Legend Materia. This however, is a really, really good Legend Materia. Yeah. Definitely something that you would go for if you get Riku's USB. She is a worthy dive once you get her USB, because increasing the duration of her stat buffs by 40% allows you to work other soul breaks into her rotation, because she doesn't have to refresh the USB as much. So that's really good. And I really like... I'm not going to say really like. I like her LMR. 35% chance to grant quick cast 1 to the, quick cast 1 to the user after using a machinist ability. Is actually good, because machinist is actually a really good school now, because it has 3 very powerful abilities. I love... You just... exclamation point English, just to show that, Dirt, you screwed up, and we saw it. You're not fooling anybody. So Machinist has 2 new abilities. We have Tempest Snipe, but it has a clone in Burning Snipe and Freezing Snipe, which all 3 do 3.42 multiplier, which is very good, by the way. And not only does it have a very good multiplier on all 3 of them, but they're ranged, and they do 6 attacks. So the chances of you capping are pretty much nil. If you're doing 60,000 damage with these, then you have no problems, and you don't have to worry about anything I say. So, yeah, these are amazing abilities. And it really... The release of these 2 new ones made her LMR much better than it used to be. Because this used to be thought of as a, oh, well, the only real, like, machinist ability she has available to her is the stuff granted by her burst, and her burst commands stink. So her LMR was kind of bad, but now that I believe her, or I personally feel like her LMR is good, it gives her 2 good Legend Materia. So the fact that Celerity, her LM1 is as bad as it is, doesn't really bother me anymore. These are good. If you get her USB, she's worth the dive. If you feel like it. If you don't have anybody else that takes those and aren't higher priority than her, then she's got those going for her. And who else do we have Auron? Physical attacks deal 10% more. Yep, that applies to everything. That's fine. 35% chance to dual cast Samurai. That is great. That's great for him. However, yeah. No, just like Lulu, this stinks. Is that it? Riku, Lulu, Auron. Yep. Alright, so time for the banner. And, since this is my first time doing it, I'm gonna go into a little spiel about how this is something I typed up myself, and of course with a little help from Enlira's spreadsheet, because it's a neato Google Doc. I can cross paste spreadsheets onto here. So I did that, and I wrote down some other stuff that we didn't have available to us before, including a little rating, which doesn't mean really anything. So please take all my ratings with a grain of salt. But I did try to do my best to rate relics for general use. So I hope they're useful to you. So please give me feedback after I'm done, and I'll see what I can do to improve, or just scrap the idea entirely and go back to using the Reddit lists to go over it. All right. So first up, we have Riku's USB, and including next to every single relic, I have their percentage distribution. What this means is say you do a 100 gem draw on a banner, which means you have a 14% chance to pull a 5-star or better relic off the banner. There is a distribution involved in that, and not all of these are equally weighted. You're more likely to get some than you are others, and that's what this number is for. So if you saw a rainbow, or I guess a rainbow or a disco, you would have a 1 in 14 chance of it being this, 1 in 14, and it stays at 1 in 14 until you get down to the Super Soul Breaks, which start out at 2 of 14, 2 of 14, 2 of 14, and the final relic on the banner is also 1 of 14, so it adds up to the 14%. And it's really important, and I'm going to go into this. I swear this is going to be the only time that I do it, because I like to think of this as kind of a roulette wheel, and I really think people need to wrap their head around visually how this works. Just give me one moment while I get this up. Should have had it up beforehand. There we go. True Epic Wander. I will remember that for the next one. Good call. Okay, think of banners as a roulette wheel. And we have Riku USB. Let's see how good my memory is. Lulu USB. Lulu BSB. Riku BSB. Pain BSB. Riku LMR. Lulu LMR. Oron Super. Pain Super. Ject Super 1. 2. And Jacked Super 1. So, okay, we need to zoom out a little bit. When you look at a banner, it's deceiving. It's very deceiving because a banner doesn't look like this. A banner looks like this. This is your 14%, right? I did this correctly. Please tell me I did this correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4. Okay, 14%. The banners are rigged. And the way they're presented to us is to fool us into thinking that we have a better chance of getting the stuff that we want than we really do. So it's good every time you look at a banner, you don't forget that all 3 of these relics at the bottom, at least the way the current format is kind of loaded against us. So when you're evaluating banners, you'll be like, oh, this is a really good banner. I don't even mind, one of the supers or something. You got to remember that if you don't like 2 of those supers, they're a big stopper getting in your way, and you're kind of likely to pull them. A lot more likely than anything else here. So just keep that in mind. That's it. It'll help you in your ability to evaluate banners. And say, hey, this is a really good thing to pull on. Instead of, holy shit, this has so much more stuff that's bad than I thought it was. Okay, so let's get off of here. It's not awful, just worse than it looks. That's all I'm saying. Right. Exactly what Epic Wander said. Alright, how did I get all the way down here? Alright, so we got Riku's USB starting off. First up, we take a look. It's all allies, attack and magic 30%, and grants protect, shell, and haste. So yes, it is Onion Knight's Burst Soul Break, where it trades out the burst mode and the commands for Protect and Shell, which is better than it sounds. One, there are many situations where I RW this in, and I don't actually use the commands, because I actually, even though we haven't had our ability overhaul yet in the game, I still find a lot of value in 5-star abilities. It's probably because I do so many Sid missions, and 5-star abilities are so useful in those. So I have them honed already, and I find use in them. I don't overly rely on burst commands when I do a lot of stuff. So I really like this for that. And another reason is eventually we're going to be getting to two different types of battle in the game, where we get rewards for clearing it faster. Kind of like how we were racing to beat Sephiroth to get better times, just for bragging rights. But it's not going to be just for bragging rights anymore. It's going to be for, admittedly, not game-breaking rewards. Well, at least with the Magicite. I don't know how the rewards are working for the moat dungeons afterwards, but I'll talk about that in a second. But the faster you can clear, the better. So the more value you can get out of a single action, the better. And what's nice about this is that this is Attack and Magic 30% and Haste. So this is your Haska, your Booska, your Protect, and your Shell, all concentrated into a single action. And that is speed. That is the essence of speed. This is a pretty strong relic when it comes to speed clearing things. And the thing about those speed clearing dungeons, the Magicite and the Moat dungeons, is that you can't RW. So it's actually a really nice thing to have native. This would not be a good thing if Riku wasn't a versatile character, but it just so happens that Riku is one of the most versatile characters in the entire game. She has great elemental coverage, she has great debuff coverage, and though debuffs aren't useful in Magicite, they are still useful in Moat dungeons. This is a awesome relic. And I'm usually not going to give that much exposition on a relic. I'll usually just recite this and add some little notes. But I feel like this USB needs the explaining done. Because we don't really understand the strength of it yet. And this is that is not even getting into the fact that it is a 6-star relic, which means the plus elemental status of it makes it even a desirable relic, even though, even if you don't like the Soul Break at all. So this is awesome for that, awesome for this. And here's what I have written about it. Excellent buffing Soul Break on a premier utility character to take proper advantage of downtime with the enormous ability pool of Riku. Added value is a plus water fist weapon, and the best relic that Edge can use with this top tier chase USB. I wrote this yesterday. I've changed my stance on that a little bit, and here's why. Because I didn't look at Legend Dive, and I found an issue with Edge. It is, no, that's right, what I wrote on that. It is the best weapon he can use. There's just a problem with Edge. And that is, in his Legend Dive, he gets Katana physical damage plus 3% and Katana physical damage plus 6%. So by using that fist weapon, you are losing all 9% of this damage. That sucks. However, you're gaining plus 20% damage because he's going to be doing water with his USB from the weapon itself. And it is the only weapon that we currently can pull for that has plus water damage on it. The actual best weapon that Edge can use is the old Soul Break that is no longer available. Emblem Water Veil. 3 group attacks causes stun 100%. Just a plain old Soul Break. However, the Murasame that it comes on has plus water damage on it, and it is a katana. This is the best weapon that Edge can use with his USB. However, it is no longer available. Just like my lamented sheer feather for fusion, it's no longer available. So you can't pull for it, which makes Riku's USB the best relic that we can currently actually throw Mithril at and try to get for Edge. Recurrence. I have question marks next to both of these because they are festivals, and the banners themselves are subject to change because Riku's USB debuted here on this banner. Superfest Banner 2, that's ETA for the end of September, and 30th Anniversary Banner Festival, or Banner 4, which is ETA the end of October. Oops. And I have this rated at 90 out of 100. I think 100 out of 100 is going to be for something truly special. Truly special. And while this is amazing, I don't want to break that threshold yet. This is a chase relic. 90 definitely qualifies it as chase. So, amazing. Next up, we have Lulu's USB, which is a doll, unfortunately. And it is RS. I have the RS in like this hot pink magenta just to call attention to it. Where this is all realm water, and that's awesome. This is only realm synergy plus size, so not awesome at all, unfortunately. But let's take a look at the USB itself. Hold on one second. We'll take a look at what Sketch is saying. Thank you both for the follows. I much appreciate it. What do you mean, Sketch? With Edge's crazy damage output and the ninja buff, is it really that big of a deal? Of course it doesn't make him bad. God, do you guys think I was trying to talk down on Edge? Jesus. Yeah, it's not that big of a... Yeah, it's not... That's not... Yeah, God. No. I'm just saying that his best weapon is no longer available. He's awesome with Riku's USB. He's just incredible. All I'm saying is that I was wrong to say that his best weapon was the fists. It's not. Okay. Jesus. Alright, so Abaddon Blizaja. This is a weird name. Anyway. Ice non-elemental. A single attacks. Magic resistance plus 30% to the user for 25 seconds. Grants attach ice and instant cast 2 to the user. I think when I first looked at this, which was a while ago, I said, okay, it's selfish and I don't like it. And as we see, my little blurb at the bottom is selfish but powerful USB in the hands of a character built to take advantage of its benefits. Buffed in the future by improved Chain Blizzaga. It's improved from 2 attacks to 4 attacks, so very much improved. And the Instacast 2 can be used to remove one of the drawbacks of the 5-star Witch abilities, which is their giant cast time, which reduces their damage output considerably. So it's nice that she can use the Instacast 2 on Witch abilities. However, with Chain Blizzaga moving up to 4 attacks, I don't understand how they could do that ability upgrade and not touch Witch abilities, because it was already a little weird using them, and now that Black Magic abilities are going to get 4 hits to the 6 hits of Witch abilities, You know, which abilities have a greatly reduced multiplier to the black magic? It just doesn't... Eh. So, while the Instant Cast 2 does remove one of the drawbacks of Witch... Yeah, that's a weird thing to say. Edge USB won't be relevant once Sensor USB comes out? Yeah, they don't have anything to do with each other. Yeah, wow. The hot take that I just heard. There, that's a little better, however still wrong. Shadow is Dark Non-Elemental, while Edge is Water Lightning. They serve different roles, because elements are a very important part of this game, and one does a whole lot of stuff better than the other, and vice versa. Yeah. I agree with Shimra. There's a very slight difference between them. Personally, yes, I do think Shadows edges out in a pure DPS race versus a neutral target. However, elements are a huge part of this game. So saying it's not relevant is just a blazing hot take, and also just totally, completely wrong. No, the USB itself is Water and Lightning. Only the chase is Water, Lightning, and Non-Elemental. Okay, so, sorry, I got a little distracted there. This is a good USB, and it's better than people think it is. I wanted to do a discussion, probably this week or next, probably next week, on team building and how to make like effective teams and stuff. And I think a lot of people are under the impression that in building their elemental teams, you need 3 people that deal a elemental characteristic in order to like properly take down, you know, bosses. Because, you know, a typical team is a healer, a support character, and 3 damage dealers, and you want all 3 of those damage dealers to be exploiting a weakness. That's not strictly true, because there's other ways to build teams to increase the potential of the characters that you do have. And if those few characters that you do have are powerful enough, and Lulu's USB qualifies for that, then you can do stuff like Noctis's Super Soul Break, which is basically a spammable, non-elemental way to provide Instacast 1 to the entire party. That is something that can be included and thrown onto an elemental team to increase everybody's damage output, which would probably be better than just throwing, okay, I have this really crappy version of fire damage to throw on my fire team, so that's going to be my 3rd slot, where somebody else could just take that slot instead and improve the output of your actually good characters, and Lulu could be one of those on an ice team. And it helps that ice is an actually difficult element to build a team for, because there aren't many that really deal it effectively. So it's not bad that it's selfish, because selfish things are generally stronger than stuff that give group buffs, because it is only for that person, where they have to reduce the amount of effects on stuff if they give it to the entire party, or else it would be just overpowered. And there are those in the game, but you know, we can't all wail for them and stuff. Right, yeah, some hetero summed up that entire, like, 5-paragraph soliloquy that I just gave everybody into, it's better to take a stacking buff, whether that be Instacast or an Entruster or another buff, into a party than a weak Soul Break that you just feel like you're obligated to do just to hit a weakness. So it's selfish, but don't count that against it if you have the proper things to buff up your team. In Lulu's case, she would be really nice with an Entruster, because if she can keep this Instant Cast 2 rolling, she would really do some ridiculous damage. Lulu's USB works very well with an Entruster. You could Lulu USB, instant cast a Chain Blizzaga, and if you're getting entrusted, then you recast her USB, and you just alternate her USB and Chain Blizzaga, and her damage potential would be enormous. Absolutely enormous. So, really, this is a good USB, and I rated it 7, or 70 out of 100 because of that. I went with the extra 0 just in case in the future. I don't know, but for now it's basically just 7 out of 10. No recurrence. Up to you whether or not that's relevant for you or not. So right away, top of the banner, we have 2 excellent relics. And I'm sorry that this is taking so long, but it is the first time that I'm using this format, so I'm just getting used to it. I was getting a little more streamlined with the way I was doing the old ones, but I'm not used to this yet. Anyways, we're moving into the Burst Soul Breaks now. We have Lulu's BSB, which is a robe that gives plus ice in all realms. So right away we see an awesome relic, because this is the only magic armor in the entire game that gives ice in all realms. This is it. This is actually an awesome and personally, for me, a highly sought after relic. But as for the BSB itself, I'm not going to go over these because everything that I have to say about it can be covered down here. Coverage burst that can handle 3 elements in a pinch, but it does a below average job of it. As we were saying above, during Lulu's USB, don't feel obligated to throw something like this onto your team just because you want to hit an element, like ice, fire, or water. Someone else can do this job so much better by buffing up a good party member that deals this damage like competently, because it's just such a weak burst. It's so weak. There's no bonus damage here. So you're using normal multipliers with no N element, no imperil, no buffs or anything, and just throwing elemental attacks that are weaker than the eventual 4-hit Chain Blizzaga, Chain Faraga, and Chain Waterga. They're weaker than that. This is such an awful burst, and I can't emphasize that enough. It is awful. Use only if no other options are available. However, is only one of 2 ice armors in the entire game, and the only one that is focused on magic. The other is Snow's Burst Soul Break, first Burst Soul Break, that is plus ice all realms, but on light armor. And it's a plus attack. The Soul Break may be junk, but the relic is of high value to any ice mage. So although this is not a desirable Soul Break whatsoever, it is still a relic that you wouldn't be okay with pulling. Well, at least I would. I would suggest that people view it as being a good pull, because as a relic, it's phenomenal. Next up, we have Pain's BSB, which is attack-based light armor and plus water damage, which is good. However, definitely not as rare as plus ice armor. Plus water armor is a little more common. We see it in a few places. And everything that applied to Lulu applies here too. Coverage burst, it can handle 3 elements in a pitch, but does a below average job of it. Use only if no other options are available. Yes, I just copy-pasted that. I did. Because it's just bad, and I don't want to talk about it. Recurs later with Pain's LMR and USB, which are both actually good. Next recurrence would be ETA on November 2nd on the Pain banner, and Pain's USB is actually legitimately good. However, Pain's USB doesn't want to use this. Doesn't want to use it at all. So this is under no circumstance a good relic. Well, I guess no circumstance is wrong. It could probably be good for some submission teams, but it's going to be dated really quickly, even for that. Next up, we have Riku's USB. It is a dagger. Machinations. Random enemies, physical. 7.7 water. This is actually good. Because that is a good and powerful entry. And it's random, which is good because it's an imperil. So the entry is actually legitimately good. A powerful entry and imperil waters with random attacks. And that's what we want on an imperil. If we're not getting something like Ferris's USB 2. But the burst commands are, the first is Shock Storm, which is a pitiful multiplier. For water and lightning, the lightning is almost never going to be useful. Area of effect lightning if you ever need to deal that. But single target, you're going to want to use Tempest Snipe instead. But here we see 2 group range attacks and cause a stun, 11%. This is a really bad command. Yeah, it's just a bad command. And next up, we have Anti-Power Power Shell. Physical, single enemy, physical, non-elemental, which is a problem because we're imperiling, and we want to be exploiting that weakness. A frequent comparison to Riku, Yuffie, has the same command, exact same command, except it is 2-hit. Well, this is 2-hit as well, but it's water elemental to go with her water burst. It's just plain better, and attack and defense minus 20% and attack and defense plus 20%. For now, this is a clone of Mug Bloodlust, which she does have available to her. So the inclusion of this is actually kind of neat because it saves her from having to use yes. Yuffie's USB is minus 50% of both, though. Right. Yeah, that's why I was going to say Epic Wonder. It kind of struck me for a second. So this is... Yes, I was actually going to say that. Schizophrenic. It is... it's a glorified Super Soul Break. However, this is good for now. However, we are going to be getting a improved Mug Bloodlust in the future that does 2 attacks and has a attack and defense minus 30% and attack and defense plus 30%. So it just makes this so much better. This will still be useful. If, you know, you're really looking to throw some useful stuff in both of her ability slots, and you're okay with, you know, dealing with a lesser version of Mug Bloodlust here, but you're probably, I mean, when you're going to want to use the real thing, since it's actually really powerful now. However, though it is a glorified Super Soul Break, the entry is actually quite powerful. And she can exploit this weakness very well with Sapphire Shot, which is a powerful ability now and gets buffed in the future to a slightly higher multiplier and spread over 4 hits instead. So it's actually still a good burst. Still a good burst. Not as good as it was in the past because it has dated commands, but there we go. As with most of Riku's equipment, it benefits by belonging to Riku. The entry is strong and capable, but the first command hasn't aged well. Having Mug Bloodlust as a second command is nice to have, though. And Riku's expansive ability pool can take it from there. In the case of her BSB, you're likely going to be dancing or using Sapphire Shot. Recurrence will be the next Final Fantasy X event. Rating 6. I think in the past it would have been higher, but we got it as a powerful Super Soul Break. I suppose that would be what the 6 is. Now we're moving into the Legend Materia. It's just a normal shield. A shield on Riku's strikes me as kind of strange, but there it is. And for the LMR, I actually just copy and pasted the entire complement of Legend Materia that the person has, because it's really nice to see the LMR with the other two legend materia, because you want to see what you're pairing it with, because you can only use 2 LMR on somebody, so you need to usually pick, if you're going to pull the LMR, you want to pair it with something, so you want to see how well it works with that. So I have a huge friggin' paragraph here, so I'm just going to read from that instead of going into it. Yeah, I know. It's just, like, because of the cross-realm nature, Paranoid, it's just weird, like, seeing other people's shields on Riku instead of her. I mean, Warrior Sarge obviously makes a ton of sense, but say, like, a friggin' tower shield, that's totally a different matter. It just visually strikes me as strange. Considered maligned because it supposedly only works with the burst commands. It's almost as if it's been forgotten that Riku has Machinist 5. I guess that wasn't really fair of me, because Machinist 5 wasn't really that big of a deal, and I guess I'm drawing from the opinions of the public that were made when Machinist 5 wasn't a big deal, but it is now that we know that it's has such high damage abilities going for it. So forget that and my my burn against the general public. Now that Tempest Snipe has been cloned into a Fire and Ice version as of the latest Japan event, this LMR gains considerable value, as Riku's most likely use in Magicite dungeons will be a first turn USB, and then using either Shooter or Machinist to exploit vulnerability. I honestly view this LMR as more of a boon to her USB than to her BSB, since you'll be making use of abilities while the USB is active, while there is no Water Machinist ability. So when you're using her BSB, your most likely ability to use would be Sapphire Shot, so what is the point of using her LMR that improves Machinist abilities? That's what the point I was trying to make there. Other than her awful Command 1. It really is just awful. Of further value is that it pushes out a bad Legend Materia 1 rather than something good. Say in Lulu's case, where black attacks deal 10% more damage is actually a good Legend Materia. It feels kind of weak compared to a lot of Legend Materia, but that's still a plus 10% damage to everything that she does. It's actually really good. However, Celerity plus 15% damage, not that good. Not really good at all. I would say 95% of the time, this is going to affect 0 of the things that Riku is doing. So, we're happy to get something that can push out the LM1. Recurrence is also on the next Final Fantasy X event. Rating 50 out of 100. However, I gave it a plus 30 if linked with her USB. If you have her USB, this is a remarkable LMR because they work together so well. Because you're going to want to have things to do while the USB is active, and Machinist abilities are one of the best ways to go about it. Next up, we have Lulu's LMR, which is a bracer, but a ring. So, already went over this at the start. Magic plus 1 free ship dealt. This will be one of the LMR. So this is going to be a theme that LMR have, or all Legend Materia have categories that they belong in. And this category is what I'm going to call, at least for now, we're just going to say a progressive stat stacking LM. They happen often. More often than any of any of us would like. This will be one of those LMR that has value simply because it's an LM that doesn't require Legend Motes to gain. That's me really trying to sell it. However, as you see in the rating, I can't really do that good of a job in selling it. Progressive stat stacking LM are not terribly powerful, but at least it's a passive buff, however slight. And most of the time I would use her LM1 over the LMR. But what I'm trying to say here is, if you're not going to dive Lulu, which is going to be the case for just about everybody that plays Final Fantasy Record Keeper, then at least this is some passive effect that you can give her, and that's where the 30 comes from. That's it. So we move out of the LMR into our 2 of 14. And we get Riot Blade. It's a katana and chance to blind on hit. I included it just because it deserves to be included, but strong multiplier. It's an old classic. Strong Super Soul Break with a good multiplier and a potent debuff. The attack and defense minus 50% is very potent. Very is. But likely relegated to strictly CM use now, which is just true. We have a lot of ways to debuff opponents now. So it's not as important to have huge stackers like this, and the fact that it's not elemental means it's hard to like get added value out of it. So it has versatility because it's not elemental. However, it's going to get pushed out by a lot of things because it's not elemental. So it's a really, really good submission relic, really good. However, not much more than that. And it's strange that this is such an old relic and it still has a recurrence. That's so weird. But I rated it 40 out of 100, so it's not terribly desirable anymore. Next up, we have Pain Super Warrior's Glove Bracer. With a strong multiplier, especially for an attached Water Soul Break, 7.74 is really nice. Because it has attached water on it. Usually if you see something like that, like we saw on a lot of bursts, it happens more often on bursts, but it has been known to happen on supers as well. They pay a tax. They lose multiplier because they didn't want to make the next cast, because what attached water does is it makes all your super soul breaks, or all your soul breaks that have that element, deal plus 80% damage. So the first cast of this is going to do a lot of damage to a water vulnerable target, but the second cast is probably going to be doing 60,000 damage to a water vulnerable target. So yeah, pretty powerful. So with a strong multiplier, especially for an attached water soul break, this is a surprisingly good super, and is a member of a group of them that benefit greatly from the ability overhaul in Japan. Use Engulfing Twin Strike together with this for a more than competent water damage. Yep. The buff to Engulfing Twin Strike, which is the 5-star Water Spellblade, is very good for this. Before, the potential of Super Soul Breaks like this were limited because most of the 5-star abilities were limited to 2 strikes, so you could only do 20,000 damage with it. In the future, the damage gets spread over 4 attacks, so you don't cap as much. So the plus 50% of the attached water doesn't go to waste. So you're probably hitting vulnerability with plus 50% damage. With a strong multiplier on a 5-star ability, you're actually going to do a hell of a lot of water damage just with a Super Soul Break. It's actually really good. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Her super is definitely better than her burst. This could bust onto a water team, while I would rarely, in only the worst situations, consider her burst soul break water team potential. Yes. Since this is the first, it's probably the best time to go into that, is N Elemental, or Attach and Elemental. They're interchangeable, and I'll use both. I apologize for that. Super Soul Breaks that have this effect, that deal single target or area of effects, and have good multipliers, are actually really good, and are buffed in the future because of 5-star abilities becoming basically better than burst commands. So if you want to look at it that way, these Super Soul Breaks become your burst. You cast the burst, and then you use your 5-star ability, 5 or 6, whatever, and those are your burst commands, and they are stronger than almost all burst commands. So think of it that way. This becomes your new burst. So obviously, bursts that provide this are good as well, but it reduces our reliability on burst soul breaks, and actually, I don't know what's the reverse of power creep, power walkback, power reverse, where supers that provide attach and imperil get added value. They actually become quite good. So next up we have Jack Super, attack light armor and plus dark, so a little value as a relic here. Trading out the attach of Pain Super Soul Break for a party buff, this could potentially find its way into a dark team, because the attack 50% could be useful for you. Say you have a, Riku's USB, for instance. Both of them could work together and super buff a party. And then Jecht could use 5-star dark abilities to deal a pretty impressive amount of damage. This could potentially find its way into a dark team, but it's more likely to be a helpful CM booster. Yeah, I don't value the attack 50% as much as the attach. It's weird that my priorities are gravitating to the more selfish things, because I guess I value teams that do their own role extremely well, instead of trying to cover multiple things, because there's characters specifically built to cover multiple things. And Jecht isn't one of those characters. He's meant to just deal damage. He's not really a utility character. And trying to pigeonhole him into that means it limits the types of supports that you can bring. The only time that I would like something like this over a more selfish super would be in the instance where you could just simply not bring support characters at all, which I don't think this does. You would need to pair this up with something else. And now you're getting into the realm of, I'm using 2 characters to do one person's thing, which can sometimes be fine. You just need 2 people. Thank you, Araz, for the follow. Thank you very much. You need 2 people to do that, meaning you need 2 soul breaks. And the more pieces that it takes to do one thing, the harder it is to do. This is a gacha game after all. That's something I don't like to see. That's all. So next up, we have the last, and this is going to be a banner format that we're going to be dealing with for a very long time. It's the last soul break on the banner, even though it's a super, is only one of 14, where the 3 supers before it are 2 of 14. And we are very happy that this is 1 of 14, because this is one of the worst relics on the banner, and one of the oldest. Ultimate Check Shot is a high multiplier, at least, and grants critical 25% to the critical 25% to all allies. This is a crit fix that is overwritten and overwrites critical 50% and 100%, which is now available through the use of Cloud's USB. It's just been power crept. So, with many more and better sources of the critical percentage fix in the game now than there were at this Relic's initial release, which was very long ago. I think over a year ago. This would be a casualty of time, and everyone should be happy that it is a 1 of 14 drop probability. No crit fix in Final Fantasy X means this could work in a submission. However, understand that critical 25% is actually a low damage buff, because it's it would only be good if you had a way to increase your critical damage. So even then, I don't think there's anything available in Final Fantasy X that can do that. This is just really bad, and garners the lowest rating on the banner. Alright, so instead of doing an overview of the banner, I'm just going to go into banner 2, and then I'm going to overview them both at the end. That's for people that want to view the VOD later and TLDR it by going to the ends, so they can just get everything there. Right, thank you, Max Rage, for doing the math. Doesn't one of the monk abilities do increased critical damage? I think there are 3 monk abilities that do increase crit chance. I don't think they do increase crit damage. We have Burning Rush and Gaia Rush, and Exploding Fist. Yeah, plus 20% crit chance, plus 20% crit chance on all 3 of them. So, no. Alright, the top of banner 2, we have Auron's USB, which is just a plain old katana. An excellent USB that provides a suite of benefits, including a rare tri-break. With Sentinel coupled with the eventual release of new 5-star Samurai Fire abilities, Oron matures into a real tauntaliating knight with a strong potential, strong damage potential and utility. Everybody loves Magic Blink. This is actually an awesome USB. Yes, they do mechs, but there's no way you would ever want to use those with Refia's BSB, because Refia's first command is plus crit damage, which takes advantage of the 50% crit from her entry. So instead of getting a 70% crit by using Burning Fist, for instance, Burning Rush, you would be much better off using her first command, which does 4 single fire attacks and gives you plus 50% crit damage. You would just get a whole lot more benefit out of that. This would be more for something like Refia's USB. Just understand that Refia and her BSB is a unique little situation, where her BSB is so belligerent and powerful that it is not overtaken by 5-star abilities. With the new ability overhaul in Japan. It is one of the few. Have a good night, Strider. Yeah, there are no crit chance buffs. That's correct. Because I wouldn't consider this a buff. This is just a plus 20% critical chance when you use the ability, and it doesn't stay. You just get it for that usage, and then you get it for that usage if you use it again. So, yeah, that's correct. But sorry if I keep coming back to this, but if you had a plus or a 50% crit fix on you and you use this ability, you would have a visible 70% crit chance, because this is plus 20% added on to what you already have. Okay, I'm done. Anyway, so 8 single attacks. Attack, defense, and resistance minus 50%. This is a really rare tri-buff and will stack with basically everything. I don't even know of anything that does this buff. I could do a search for it. Let's do a search for it. Let's do him proud. Attack, defense, and resistance. And let's not use an Oxford comma this time and screw myself up. I almost did it again. 1 of 2. Red 13 has the attack, defense, resistance buff, and Oron has the unique debuff. It stacks with everything in the game. Alright, so it gives a unique debuff and grants Sentinel, which is really nice for Oron, because Oron has Knight 3. He's a pseudo knight. He's a fake knight. So he can only draw fire. He can't magic lure. So it's nice that Oron finally becomes a real knight with his ability to grant Sentinel to himself with his best soul break, bar none. And also, you know, just to throw it in there, we get the added bonus of Magic Blink 1 to all allies while he's at it. So, yeah, there's nothing bad about this, and all of it is extremely good. This is such an awesome, awesome soul break. Unfortunately, no recurrence, because I want this. I love Oron as a character. I'm finally glad that he got something, like, incredible. And that doesn't even go into the fact that we get new 5-star samurai abilities in the future that now allow him to be able to do something other than just life siphon this out endlessly. He can now be a strong part of a fire team by having a fire USB and using these samurai abilities. 2 single attacks, 1.0 each. It grants Retaliate to the user. That's good, coupled with his Sentinel. But if you're not looking to Tauntaliate during the fight, you can just use this instead. Actually, no, you'd want to use them both together. Because this gets plus 50% critical chance if the user has Retaliate or High Retaliate. Again, that plus counts here as it did on the Monk abilities. If you had a 50% crit fix on you, this plus 50% critical chance would give you a 100% crit chance for 4 attacks. So a 3.0, 4 attacks, 100% crit chance if you had a crit fix on you. These abilities, or if you want Life Siphon, coupled with his USB, turns Oron into a machine. And thank goodness. I rated it 80 because I didn't want to encroach on Riku's USB, which I believe has more potential because it's, as a buff USB, it's useful in more places. So I, valuing utility like I do, I gave that the 9. And we're giving Oron the 8. And it's only for that reason. I really just think it's excellent. Hailstorm is very good. It is very good. It's just ice and doesn't fit the elemental theme, but still, it's still very good. I love Hailstorm, and they buffed it too, which is crazy. I can't believe they buffed Hailstorm. Alright, so Wakka's USB is actually not bad at all, and actually pretty desirable as far as I'm concerned. It's a water ball, and it is a blitz ball, but it's plus water blitz ball. That's all realms. That is a good thing. That's a very good thing, because it's a ranged weapon, and blitzballs can be used by 3 players. It was just technically true. I wanted to say characters. 3 characters in the game: Riku, Tidus, and Wakka, that can all use Sapphire Shot. And having this available to them, because you get a gigantic multiplier increase on shooter abilities if you're using a ranged weapon. Sapphire Shot. It deals, at the moment, it's a 3.7, and it gets buffed to 3.8 if you're using a ranged weapon over 4 attacks. That is a disgusting ability. I did leave out Jack because there's no synergy with water. Jex is just a shitty character. He's a darkness character. Like, there's none of his soul breaks. Like, say you're bringing Jack to a fight. What are you going to do with him against the water boss? Because you're using this blitzball to use Sapphire Shot. What are you doing with Jax? Like, why is he there? Are you just using him to use Sapphire Shot? I get that a lot of you are just joking, but I'm saying that Tidus, Wakka, and Riku okay, you guys are fucking with me and I'm just troll bait. I just capped it off with what I first said. So all 3 of them can capitalize on water potential with their soul breaks, while Jack can't. So anyway, let's go into this. It's a Pentabreak and Pearl Water. Right there, that should be sending alarm bells off in your head that this could be really good. Pairs well with a full break and Sapphire Shot ability loadout. So yeah, I mean, think about throwing this blitzball on them, augmenting the blitzball, of course. I would immediately if I got it. And because he's support 5, you could full break and pentabreak because of the entry. And use Sapphire Shot to deal actually respectable damage. Not just respectable, extremely good damage. Please understand, extremely good damage, because you should be using this against a vulnerable water opponent anyway, and you're in Pearl Watering at the same time. A global water blitzball helps make up for Wakka's support stat tax, and gives a character notorious for equipment woes something to use everywhere. that's an important thing to note, that Waka actually becomes a really good character with his USB. I know it's weird, and I know a lot of people... I'm guilty of it too. When I look at a banner, I usually just like gloss over a Soul Break because I know it belongs to what I believe to be a really bad character, without really deep diving into the possibilities and how it could make a character actually legitimately good. Oh God, Shadow. Enough! What's up with the frickin' trolls in chat? I take it seriously for like a split second, and that's all it takes to trigger me, and then I have to calm down afterwards. And it takes longer to calm down than it does to trigger me. God. Alright. And it is also a good relic. Not just good relic, great relic for both Tidus and Riku. This is a good pull. It's a really good pull. It's crazy that it's helped out by the fact that it's a Blitzball, because I believe those are the only ranged weapons that Tidus can use. I wanna verify that statement. That is true, Call. He was. Wasn't he the only support in the game? Tidus equipment. Oh no, he can use Throne. Never mind. But there's no Water Throne, so there you go. Screw you, Throne. You suck. No recurrence. This really makes me sad because I really like the top two of this banner. None and none. Man, what are you doing? Like, give me desirable things. Orin's got to be a draw. Dark Soul Love, thank you so much for the follow. Orin is like one of the most popular characters in 10. He's got to be a draw. What are you doing? DNA. Give us more Orin things. Alright, next up, we got Braska's BSB. This is a summoning BSB, and good lord, does this array take up a lot of room on the screen. We got just a standard attach entry. Fire and lightning, what? Well, I'm gonna play spoiler for you right now. That's weird, and you're probably never gonna use him to deal lightning damage. At least with his burst. However, his BSB is plus fire staff. It's nice. It's always nice. Unless you got a few of them already. I don't. So, that'd be really nice for me. This confuses me a little bit. Random enemies, but only doing a 14.88. Oh, no, it doesn't confuse me. It pays the N-element tax. This is why I was talking about above on Pain's Super, how it's actually really a powerful multiplier, but doesn't suffer. If you look at something like Lulu and her USB, this is single target, random and single target share the same like multiplier tree. 17.44 doesn't pay the N-element tax, while Braska's does 14.88. But like I said, bursts suffer from this more than supers and USBs do. So for the commands, we have Grant's Lingering Spirit. This is the same thing as Sid Rain's command 2. It's plus 30%, 30% something. Magic. And minus 30% resistance. This is an issue, because this isn't dealing any damage. Where Sid Rain's and using his command 2 to give him his self buff deals damage, so it offsets the fact that it does less damage as command 1, and you're fine. You're fine with that. This doesn't deal damage at all. So what it needs to do is this summon a Frit effect that you're giving yourself needs to make up for the fact that you're not dealing damage on your first command of your burst. And with our 2 summoning commands, you'll notice now that we have this little array available to us, I don't have to go into as much detail on every breakdown, but I will the first time. The S in parentheses means that these are the summoning commands, while these are the ones that go into effect when you don't have the summoning status. So if you've got Summon a Frit on you, you're getting 5 single attacks of 1.99 each for a total of 9.95. That's not good at all. That does not make up for the fact that you're dealing no damage on your first command. So that's unfortunate. This is a low multiplier. The only benefit that you're getting here is 5, and that's just not enough. The recast of the second command is a 17.0 multiplier. So if you just have that because you lose Summon a Frit, so you would need to do this once every other turn, you get really, is that an 8.5? An 8.5 every turn. Trigger, thank you very much for the follow. I very much appreciate it. Yeah. So this is actually not a good burst. And I go into that respectable. I think I embellished a little bit. First command not dealing damage is a drawback, and it is not made up by the fact that it is a 5-hit second command because the multiplier is low. Notable and most useful for being summon damage type. The SUM type means that it is not going to get countered most of the time, because most counters in the game, in our AI that we're able to look at, we get spoiled by TM Murphy and his enemy AI readouts. We see that when a enemy counters magical attacks, it's usually BLK type, not SUM type. And just to show you an example of that, we're going to go up here to Lulu's BSB, which has BLK type commands. They would get countered by a boss that counters magic. There are very few that counter SUM type attacks. God, this new format is so useful, because I usually have to go to the spreadsheet to explain that, but now it's just, I just pointed out. Rated at a 5 or a 60, I think that's too high. So I would actually reduce that to a 50. But it does have a recurrence. I think maybe I pushed it up to a 60 because it's a fire staff, and maybe I view that's like a personal boost, where I view the staff more than a lot of people would, because I have none of these. And I would like it very much for people that aren't Braska. Next up, we have Waka's BSB. It's just a bracer. Highish multiplier. But it's just a full breakdown burst. We've seen these in many, many forms. Magic breakdown and attack breakdown, and the same array as Ferris's. To this day, I still have to take a moment to think, which of Ferris's commands are magic and attack, because I always think, like, in my head, I order it as attack being first, so I occasionally mess that up. It's the Bull Breaker. Yeah, so it's full breakdown. It's a minus 40%, all main stats instead of minus 30% from the full breakability. And this is fine. It's on Waka, so it's not that useful. Waka is only useful outside of Final Fantasy X, as far as I'm concerned, when he has his USB. This is going to be something that limits him to Final Fantasy X. Typical full breakdown support burst in the hands of one of the lesser supports. Full-on entry and both main stats and commands are good to free up your ability slots for good things. Improves with the water, fire, and ice expansion of Sharpshooter, but will likely be stuck as a CM burst for many, albeit a good one for that purpose. Yeah, like I went into when I talked about the Lucky Draw banner that we had tonight. I like these a lot for Sid missions. They're actually extremely powerful for Sid missions. Like Queena's is better than this because it has stacking commands. But like Queena's and Waka's full breakdown entries, I really like them for Sid missions. And they're great for that purpose. No recurrence anymore, which is crazy. I feel like we've seen this in so many places, and it's finally retiring. Rating 5, it's basically... I should have put a qualifier here. I know I have pluses for, like, if you have certain things. I'll be putting... It has a plus rating if you have a certain thing, or you can combo it with something else. I would put a minus for this for people that don't do SID missions. I guess that didn't occur to me when I was making this list. Just something for me to remember in the future. It's true. Queen SBSB is a plus water relic. That's nice. How much do I value Ether commands? Not that much. Not much at all. I thought I would like it, but like I have Alphanos and I use Alphano often, but I almost never use the command because I guess it matters with the character because it's just because Alphano's first command with the Instacast is so ridiculously strong that he just overtakes anything like 6-star ability that you could throw in the slot or hard to hone like Tiamat or Meltdown. It doesn't make sense to use any of that stuff because by alternating with the Ether command and that ability, you're not doing yourself any favors because you just be instacasting a massive damage potential command instead. Orville Alphano's a little different because him and using Valigarmanda to extend his element coverage is actually pretty damn strong. So there's that to think about. The person would have to have a pretty spectacular unhonable 6-star to use in order for an Ether command to be good. And the problem with Freya is Sky High does not fulfill that. I think Sky High sucks, even with the ability buffs. Valigarmanda, on the other hand, is frigging awesome. Next up, we have Tidus's BSB, and I don't have to talk about this. This is your textbook BSB, where textbook attach BSB. Pays the tax, gives you attach, 4 single, 2 group, both the elements, that's it. Old Water Burst that has aged fine up to this point solely due to it being a harder element to gear for. However, it drops off of a cliff in the future with the ability overhaul. The basic commands are overtaken by Sapphire Shot for damage, leaving it as little more than a mechanism to provide Tidus with attached water. For perspective, Pain's Super Soul Break from the first banner is a better way to achieve the same goal. It's sad, huh? How we've flipped the tables on a lot of things. This is a glorified super to give Tidus attached water to use with 5-star abilities. So it's an oldie. It has aged well because it's water. And I'm sure a lot of people that got this in that festival that it premiered on so long ago have used this to exploit many water weaknesses. However, it will drop off the cliff. Yeah, it is burst mode, and that is a stat buff, and it's worthy of note. But yeah, it's for that. No recurrence, thank goodness. I don't want to see this relic stinking up banners anymore. Next, we move into the LMRs. Blurry Moon, Katana, chance to blind on hit. Woo! Progressive, stat buff, LMR, shrunk. There you go. Attack, 3% for each hit taken by damaging attacks up to 35%. I don't like these at all. Yeah. But if you do get Oron's USB and you feel the urge to record dive him, you can be rest assured, be reassured, there we go, that you have 2 good legend materia here. However, you're not going to find a good one in his LMR. Oh yeah, I didn't take any of the Keeper's Choice into consideration. It's really difficult for me to find recurrence. I've actually thought about taking it off the banner because it's hard to find those. Like, I don't have a really good resource for looking for recurrence. I do not believe that they do, Epic Wander. But yeah, even though there may never be a Volume 3, I still should have noted it because that is a potential recurrence. I would just put a question mark next to it, just like I did for the my intern, the festivals, like, because we don't know if it's going to show up there. We don't know if it's going to show up on the volume banners, and we don't know if we're even going to get the volume banners. So it would be double question mark. Rating 30 out of 100. It's just, it takes, this is awful in its own right because he has to take hits in order to get there, and I don't think that actually qualifies if he has Retaliate active. So he would have to take magic attacks if you're using him as a Retaliator. So you'd have to use Draw Fire to start the fight, or you'd have to Mako Might out his USB for the Sentinel. And then you'd have to start taking hits at which you're getting 3% for every hit, up to 35%, which isn't big to begin with. And stats is just only 35%, where I'd probably just rather 10% physical damage instead, because there is no cap on that. Okay, next up we have Titus's LMR, which is a little weird being on this banner when we're headlined by Waka's USB and Oron's USB. The other banner had this correct, this one does not. Throwing Titus's crappy BSB on here does not make this okay to do. Grants water or attach water at the beginning of the battle. And I'm gonna go into a bit of a monologue here. I have a higher opinion on attach elemental LMRs than most, in situations where a character's soul break entry also bestows the same attach. So I guess a lot of people's gripe with the attach element stuff is that, say you're using Mako Might with the character, if you're casting it immediately, you're getting this benefit for approximately like 3 seconds. And you get that plus 80% damage on entry, and then it gets refreshed, and the benefit from this disappears. Or if you're using the character like Titus, for instance, and life siphoning at the start of battle, you're not getting the benefit of attach water anyway, and you gain the benefit of the 80% on recast. So I guess that's where a lot of people find a gripe with that. However, I'm going to go into why I like them. And I like them even more now we have the ability overhaul. Generally, you won't be using Mako Might or Dr. Mog's teaching on a damage dealer. They're much better used on utility characters and healers. So if they're left to generate soul break, points with abilities. You can do this with either Life Siphon or Wrath, but if you're given the option, using an ability that exploits elemental vulnerability is a more damaging way to go about it, and my preferred route, as long as the soul break in question isn't time sensitive. That's where these LMR come into play. You use an ability that does plus 50% damage thanks to your attach, and then your soul break entry is given a further plus 80% damage thanks to the same. These boosts will be powerful, God, in situations where time is of the essence due to the increased potency of your build-up, like Magicite or Moat Speed clears. And one thing I forgot to mention here, it will also be powerful in Zero Throttle clears. There will be a game mode added eventually called Zero Throttle, which is exactly what it sounds. It's the opposite of Full Throttle. So you start out with 0 soul break, and for the entire battle, you are unable to gain any soul break. So having the attached water at the start of the battle and pairing that up with a 5-star ability, 5 or 6-star, whatever, is an extremely powerful way to start out a fight. And you get that for 25 seconds. So anyway, I feel that using, say in Titus's case, we'll use that here because it is his LMR after all, and it is a bracer with plus water, by the way. You could start Titus out in the start of a fight and be using Sapphire Shot up until you know, the soul break that you use with him, which would be most likely his USB or his BSB if you have it. It's still, you know, it's still something. To refresh his attached water in a versus water battle. And that will net a lot of damage. And I believe someone just mentioned it in chat, with the ability buff, where a Sapphire Shot gets 4 attacks and a really high multiplier. So you're dealing a hell of a lot of damage before you ever have to bother with your burst. Remember that 5-star abilities also gain soul break faster. Where 5 or 6-star or 5-star at the moment give you 65 soul break points, and if you're exploiting, you gain plus 50% more. So it's about 100 soul break points per use to the 150 of Life Siphon. In the future, I don't believe we have the numbers on the improved amount of soul break that they give, do we? We don't. That's unfortunate. I'd like to know how much they're improved, but they want to make it so we have a lesser reliance on Life Siphon and Wrath for getting out all of our stuff. They're just trying to make 5-star abilities useful, which is nice because I think they're a great addition to the game. So I really like these. I really do. Recurrence is the next Final Fantasy X event. November 2nd. Rating 60. And plus, if water armor is of value, which it is for many people, including myself. I only have one of them, and it's really nice, but I would obviously like more. 1 is not enough. Probably like 2. 2 is a good number. So, yep. That is actually a good pickup off this banner. And future consideration, if you plan on pulling for Titus's USB, he would very much like this LMR. Riku Super Soul Break. So we moved into the 2 of 14 supers now. It's just a fist weapon. Good multiplier. And nice debuff and buff to go with it. Surprisingly potent attack and resistance Mug Soul Break. Potential for inclusion as a hybrid on mage teams due to Riku's ability to steal power for self-buffing while ruining the resistance of a boss. Extremely valuable in Sid mission situations with the potential to squeak onto a real mage team. Potential is probably getting ahead of myself. I think it's a real tough sell to include this under a real mage team, but an exceptional relic for submission. So yeah, the rating of 50 is accurate. It's a really good super, and it's on Riku, so there's that. No, Squeak is fine. They can be used interchangeably in that fashion, I think. It's like, what's that the word? Onomatopoeia? Of, say you got, like 4 people sitting on a 4-person bench, right? And a 5th person tries to sneak onto that bench. The onomatopoeia for that happening in like a cartoon or a comic or manga or something would be like squeak. Oh, really? We have Soul Breaking? Oh, God. That's actually something I've been anticipating a lot, and I want to go into that. I'm so glad that it's available as I'm nearing the end of this. Okay, so I'll do that and talk about that after we're done with this. Next up, we have Braska's Super Soul Break 2, which is his plus Holy Robe, which is nice. Part of the early 2017 Faithka Triumvirate, which was Braska, Papalimo, and Krill. Still useful as a single stat Faithka, but has been pushed out in favor of better stacking options like Ramza's USB. Also Lena's USB, Menphilia's USB, Red 13, no, he doesn't have a but those 3 do qualify. And there'll be more in the future. Rafa's USB is coming, and that is basically this but better, I think. Doesn't give high regen. But it does give, yeah, it's better than this. It's more of a jumpstart piece for Nebraska now that he has big boy things to do with his burst. So having this together with his burst would make him have a nice buff to hand to the party as a jumpstart was beginning. I rated it 4 out of 10 because it's just a complimentary piece for a not really that great character. But it does get plus value if you need Holy Mage Armor. Kumari Super Soul Break, 214, Twin Lance, potent non-elemental entry granting Magic Blink, Life Siphonable, Powerful CM tool. It is. 4 because it's basically strictly submission stuff, but still really good multiplier, and grants Magic Blink. It just annihilates some CMs. Really a great addition to your submission teams. Oh yeah, Rafa's USB is awesome. Next up, and final, we have another occurrence of Chaos Rod. Whoa! This is everywhere. Miracle Veil, it's a Kiraga Medica, grants HP stock 2000. HP stocking Medica, it's a powerful CM tool just like most good Medicas are. No more recurrence, and I think a lot of people are jumping for joy about that one. 40 out of 100. I rated that because, yeah, I don't know. It's an admission tool. And I think a lot of people would be happy about this banner because it's 1 of 14. Chaos Rod is a plague, yeah. So yeah, second banner. So for banner overview, so what I decided to do is I'm going to do a small little condensed summary. So people have like an idea of if you have needs and you know your needs, and you could find banners to fulfill those needs. So if you were looking for a Final Fantasy X banner and a water focus, like you need water things, and you also like the idea of it has a presence of ice, buffing USB chase on it, above average low end. The lower relics on the banner were actually good with Riot Blade for Oron and Pain Super. That's actually pretty good for a 2% area. So I just wanted to write down a summary for the banner and like show you what the banner is basically all about and how it could benefit you if you understand your needs and how to, satisfy them. Banner 2 is a utility focus because the powerful relics on the banner are Imperil Water that does a Penta Break, and Oron's awesome Fire and Triple Break. It's just a utility focus, and it also nice for water and fire because of both of those. Sid mission oriented low end, because I don't really like the low end of this banner at all. Yeah, there's nothing here that you're going to use outside of Sid missions. So it's got a pretty bad low end. Here's my summary on them. Banner 2 is the better banner of the two in overall value, but it suffers from having no real top tier chase. And yeah, this creates a dilemma because Riku's excellent USB is stuck on an awful banner. It's one thing if the low end of the banner is what drags it down, like with Cloud's Awakening banner, but it's an entirely worse issue if the high end is the culprit. And we see that with Pain and Lulu's Burst Soul Breaks, and Lulu's Legend Materia. Banner 1 can be salvaged if you're in the market for elemental relics, since Lulu and Pain's Burst Soul Breaks are quite bad, but happen to reside on good relics, and in the case of Lulu's, wholly unique. Chase that Riku USB, but if you wish, but know that you're playing a risky game if those elemental relics suit your fancy. I don't really feel the need to go into it anymore. I actually feel like I did a pretty decent job at summing them up there. So now we can go Q&A style. Actually, I did a hell of a lot of talking there, and I'm parched. So I'll be back. I'm going to get some iced tea. Dawn Symphony. Not yet, but I will make these available. Actually, I can just make this available to you right now. Available. I'm gonna locate a place where I can make these available in the future. If I keep on doing this format, which it seems like everyone's kind of in agreement. Oh, yeah, there is a place. Jeez, there is a place you can get these documents. I do. On Discord, I have a channel dedicated to it. I called it Event Previews. It's pretty good. But yeah, I can share it in chat right now. If you want to look at these at any time, I'm going to always post them to the Event Previews channel in Discord. Philippe! Thank you very much for the follow. So I'm going to check chat for a second, see if I missed anything while I was getting my drink. Yeah, I think that's something I missed, Shimra. You said there's ice and water in different places a lot better. I agree. I should have noted that while they focus on those elements, I should note that in the future there are better places to get both of those elements. Ice and water in particular will likely be the theme of one of the Superfest banners. And ice is also on a really good Final Fantasy VIII banner coming up. Yeah, Apocalypse, it's such a cool sword. Plus water damage on a sword. I don't think there's another place to get something quite that cool. There won't be a quick one. I did say that I was going to do my redo my tier lists every season. Every 3 months, which means we're due for an update on our tier lists fairly soon, within, I'd say, a month, closer to the end of a month. And yep, it definitely needs some updating thanks to the ability overhaul. and a lot of the other stuff we've gotten in this time. There'll definitely be an update. That's going to be something I'm going to do quarterly, so 4 times a year, for as long as I'm doing this. Okay, since no more questions about the Final Fantasy X event, we're going to go and take a look at this abilities balance change. Summoning abilities have their uses increased by 1. They'll start with 2 uses instead of 1 at rank 1 and reach 6 uses instead of 5 at rank 5. Cool. That's an awesome change. Should have been made a long time ago. Most abilities grant higher amount of soul break points upon use. Edit. The new soul break games seem pretty consistent across the various rarities, but abilities that deal elemental damage have a small penalty to offset the 50% bonus they get when hitting a weakness. High rarity, Celerity Thief, and Ninja abilities also give less points than the others because of their particularly low cast times. Life Siphon and Wrath still give 150 and 180. The following table should result valid for most abilities. The only exceptions I noticed were Sky High 90 and Retaliate 80. Retaliate has to be at 80 because it stops you from generating soul break. Yeah, I'll take a look at those at some point. Okay, so 5-star moved from 65 to 80. However, elemental, minus 10, so it's only 70. It's not even that big of a buff. It's not that big of a deal. So 70, if you're exploiting weakness, goes to 105. Where before 65 went to like 100. This buff sucks. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Fast cast benefit a lot. Well, Thief's Revenge is non-elemental, so it generates 80. Well, actually, it generates 75. And that's good. That is good. Vaughn likes. And Lion. Lion likes too. Yeah, you need to be exploiting vulnerability. Yep, true. That does make the 4-star witch ability still good. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, if 5-star were buffed enough, then you wouldn't have to use the 4-star witch abilities to accelerate out lightning and ice stuff for witches anymore. But I would definitely, like, say, Ash's USB, for instance. We just got this in Japan. Empyrean Edict. 10 single attacks, 1.7 each for a 17.0 total. Magic and resistance plus 30% to the user, and grants attached lightning and Empyrean Edict, basically her X mode, to the user, which gives her a very, very, very powerful lightning chase. I was thinking, because of the way her lightning chase works, you're going to be using, get this, a rank 5 Chain Thundaga on her. Absolutely. I was thinking, since you're going to have so many uses on your Chain Thundaga anyway, just use Chain Thundaga instead of the 4-star witch ability. But with Ash and the way all this works now, and how 5-star abilities aren't even that swell. Thinking the 4-star lightning ability is probably just a better way, because the faster you can get this out, the better. Using Chain Thandaga without the benefit of the attached lightning and the Empyrean Edict is not there's not enough benefit there to slow down, just to get the added damage of that over the Witch ability. You'll need an R4 chain to use 4 to 5 casts if you first bar. For your first bar. Cast your Soul Break, and then use the remaining 4 to 3 casts for the Chase Attach benefit. Yeah, that's a good call, Shimra. I do want to see that. So 4-star Witch generates 60 Soul Break points with Fast Cast. Where Bahamut would generate 80. So this would be 90 if you're exploiting weakness. Oh, wait. No. Son of a bitch. Even 4-star. So this would be 65. So about 100 per cast of the 4-star. Where you'd be getting 80 with Bahamut. Or 80, 120 with Valley Garmanda, if you're using Ash, for instance. So Life Siphon and Wrath still on the table? Yes, I would say so. This is not enough of a buff to Soul Break generation for these abilities to change much of the way we do things now. However, still, the ability upgrade overall was good, so we are going to be using 5-star and 6-star abilities more. That is an undeniable fact. Buff, I'm just going to post it for you because I've gone over it before. Here you go, check that out. You're probably going to do a better job looking for what you're looking for on that than I could, since I take so long to do just about everything that I do. Yep. Agreed, Wander. It's a nice little bump, but it's not going to change anything.